Here we are, the island south of Firenze. I definitely feel the presence of an emblem.
That looks like an altar over there.
With a bracelet resting on top of it. Must be the emblem inside I'm sensing. Yes, I feel it now.
What is it, Divine One?
I think an invocation just came to me. I'll try summoning the emblem now. Dream well, Emblem of Dragons!
Am I? No. Excuse me, but who are you?
I'm the Divine Dragon. We came here because I sensed your presence.
Divine Dragon? Why, that's what I am too. My name is Emblem Tiki. I must thank you for waking me. I feel I've been asleep for a very long time.
I can relate to that, Tiki. Do you happen to remember anything from before your sleep?
I know my bracelet friends and I were all somewhere, very far away. We fought in so many battles. I cannot recall how they ended. I do remember someone very gentle helping me to sleep. I wonder who it was.
Someone gentle.
I was kept asleep in my former world too. It was to protect me, but I was still quite frightened. But then Mama made it so that I didn't need to sleep anymore.
Do you mean Marth? Are you talking about events from the time of the Hero King?
You know him?
I do. Emblem Marth has been a guardian of Elios for a long time. If you'd be willing to join him in fighting to save this world, we'd be very grateful.
I would love to join your group. Traveling with so many new friends sounds like fun. But if I'm to join you, I'd like to see what drives you to fight. Will you show me your essence?
Of course. How do we do that?
Why, that's easy. You can battle against me. Then I'll know your true nature, and you don't need to hold back. I am really quite strong.
Welcome to Tiki's Paralogue, the first of the DLC. Many people do not like this map, and if you're struggling with it, this video is for you. A powerful boss awaits us in the northeast. To open the door blocking her room, we need to activate the western sigil by ending our turn on it. Opening the door to that room requires activating the center sigil. Along the way, we'll fight ice dragons, who can freeze units in place and find ice tiles that increase our movement. We'll soon learn that taking our time is not a great option. Starting turn 14, every 3 turns until the last group on turn 35, enemies will spawn at the bottom of the hallway ready to chase us. If we're too slow, we'll get surrounded and cut down. Normally, if a paralogue's tough, you can delay it to become stronger relative to the enemies. The DLC paralogues don't let you do that. The enemies will get stronger to match. If I deployed my highest level units, excluding Vander, they'd average level 11. On Maddening, DLC paralogue foes have that average level plus 3, instead of a fixed level like the base game's paralogues. I see why people find this map frustrating. The auto-scaling and reinforcements thwart common strategies for handling tough maps. Skipping it feels awful. Every DLC bracelet save 3 houses is gated behind it, and on top of that there's a sparkly tile holding a silver card that will give us a permanent 30% discount in the shop. I love this map. Besides a great soundtrack, which I'm a sucker for, it's a lot of fun if you approach it the right way. I'm hoping this video can show that approach. I'll first mention a very slow strategy. The reinforcements aren't infinite, and they're the only source of time pressure. If you get sandwiched, you're probably cooked. But you can instead just keep your entire army at their spawn point, defeat them the turn they appear until turn 35, and then beat the map at your own pace. This works, and if you have the most fun doing it, more power to you. I think there's a more enjoyable way to play it though, and because this isn't the last time we'll see reinforcements, it's a good time to discuss them. Engage-style reinforcements usually appear close to our starting position after a significant delay. They don't spawn between you and your objectives, they're at your rear pushing you to move quickly. I've seen many people complain that fighting myriad reinforcements turns the game into a slog. That's by design. If you want to play fast, you shouldn't be fighting them in the first place. We won't even let them see the field, although in a less carefully planned run, I wouldn't normally be that fast. You may grumble. Beat the map quickly? Gosh golly, why didn't I think of that? What helpful advice. That's the goal, but I haven't said much about how to get there. What preparation and tactics do we need for a painless clear? First, preparation. Simply getting more XP doesn't help, but there are more ways to strengthen our team than raw levels. My advice, especially if you're struggling with this map, is to wait until Chapter 8 to do it. Completing Chapter 8 gives us 2 new emblems, access to new wares from the shops, and class-changing seals to let us promote units for more movement and new weapons. Generally speaking, it's when your army is strongest relative to its level. Doing several DLC paralogues now often makes sense to pick up anyone you want to use throughout the game. As far as what to do with those seals in new shops, I don't think it makes sense to build your units around beating one map, but there are a few things you can prepare that will help you a lot right now and hold their value going forward. The dragons are the largest obstacle standing between you and a breezy clear. They're bulky, mostly have 2-3 range, ignore defense and resistance, and worst of all, they freeze any unit they hit for a turn. If you need multiple attacks to take them down, that's multiple units who can't move next turn. Those freezes will turn sailing to victory before reinforcements even arrive into getting pincered by them in the middle of the map. The dragons do have one exploitable weakness, bows. My biggest piece of advice is to make sure you have 2 units who can one-shot the dragons, which almost always means with bows. Because the map auto-levels, I can't say exactly what the damage threshold you need is, but it's one of the few times I would sit down and do the math before you start a map. Bows have triple weapon might from effectiveness, so every forge and engrave has triple value. You need 3 times the might of a bow plus the strength of the archer to be greater than or equal to the sum of the dragon's defense and HP. There is a slightly stronger than normal dragon to the west for some reason, but the others all have the same stats. Just hit that threshold, no matter how many forges and tonics it takes, and you're golden. Don't worry about wasting those resources. Trust me, there's plenty of places going forward you'll be happy to have a great bow. If you're playing this map, you also have the 3 houses bracelet. That bracelet has a bow any unit can use, Fail Not. It's bond level 15, but we can use the Combat Art Fallen Star right now to hopefully one-shot the dragons with a non-archer. For the sake of calculations, you should know that base Fail Not has 39 effective might. You need to have a unit with enough strength to one-shot from there. Forging a bow for Alcris and giving Fail Not to your strongest other unit should work for almost every team. You may have better options, like a bow knight or warrior you promoted. That's the most important prep. There's also a lot we can do to speed ourselves up on the field itself. This map's the best place in the game to use Headlong Rush. A Sigurd user at bond level 7 is immune to freezes. That completely neutralizes the main threat, and baiting dragons towards you without being frozen helps a lot. Because the Freeze Monk at the start always targets the closest unit, we can also use Sigurd to easily deal with him. Inheriting Headlong Rush costs just 200 SP. Giving that to an archer is basically a cheat code. Sigurd also provides Canter, the best inheritable skill by a mile. It's even better than usual here, because the ice tiles give you 2 extra squares, and it helps most when fighting in cramped spaces. If you're planning to give anyone Canter at some point, spending books on it now is a fantastic idea. With Sigurd leading the way, we'll avoid being frozen and quickly reach the main hallway. Then, with our bow users, we'll make sure we can eliminate the dragons inside and make it to the top of the hallway. Once we make it to the fork, we fight 2 more groups with dragons. At that point, we'll split up. 3 units will handle the loot and sigil, and the other 5 will charge the boss. The turn her room opens, we'll rush inside and clear the map next turn. 3 units doesn't sound sufficient to handle the western side, but if you're clever about it, you can make it work. The first sigil in the middle, which opens up the path to the western sigil, is defended by a monk with a rewarp staff. A suitable staff user can take rewarp, activate the sigil while getting in the chest, rewarp outside, and take the silver card. The best candidates are Vidam Saline, or a griffin with 11 sword, or an armor effective weapon. A powerful sage like Citrine who can one-shot the monk to avoid getting broken will also work. Once you open the western door by activating that sigil, all the enemies there will aggro and start chasing you. If you make sure they're chasing someone they can't catch, like your Sigurd user, you can have the rewarp user come in and take all the loot. That's just 2 units to handle all the loot and sigils. I really enjoy the Looney Tunes vibe of using a unit as a decoy, and I wanted to show it, but my team's actually good enough to simply route that side. I'll show you how that works during the map. Roy's Engage attack isn't great against bosses, so if you have a 3rd unit help out on the western front, it doesn't make life much harder on the boss team. There's one nasty surprise in store for that boss team. Tiki's Engage attack, Divine Blessing, will give another unit a revival stone if you open her door by activating the western sigil without simultaneously killing the dragon next to her. She'll give that dragon another HP bar on her turn, and with such a tight choke point, it's quite aggravating to dislodge them. After all that effort to go fast, spending 5 turns getting frozen outside the boss room would be a shame. The solution's a unit who can one-shot the dragon on the turn the door opens, before they get a chance to live twice. Since you already have 2 bows users, that shouldn't be too hard, but it is important. To deal with Tiki quickly, you have 2 main options: fighting her in her room or in the main hallway. Kiting her out to the main hallway and then ganging up on her is simple and effective. The faster approach is fighting her in her own chamber. We'll use Obstruct in a unit position where the dragon is now to make sure we don't get choked off, and can rush in the turn after the door opens. Tiki herself really isn't that scary. You almost certainly have many units who can survive around a combat with her, so don't feel like you have to one-turn the room. To sum up, here's a grocery list of sorts to help you prepare. Nothing is 100% required, but if you're missing something, you should think about how to replace that before you're deep into the map. Maybe instead of Celica, your staff user needs Sigurd, or you should buy Rewarp and have a different unit handle the center chamber. Maybe you need to inherit Headlong Rush because your preferred Sigurd user doesn't have the bulk needed to take the dragons on enemy phase. After Chapter 8, you have unlimited tonics. Use them liberally to reach these benchmarks. I have Strength, Speed, Resistance +1 for my meal. I just had a video in the Somnial going over my roster updates if you're interested in my larger plans. To quickly explain who's doing what, my Archer is level 1 Jean with Micaiah, my 3 Houses user is Amber, my Celica user is Vidam Saline, and my Sigurd user is unpromoted Chloe. My team is quite good, and I've done a lot of planning, so I'm going to rocket through the map and do more combat than is necessary. You don't need to keep pace with me. So long as you're within 4 or 5 turns, you won't have any problems with the reinforcements. With that, let's get started.
Now then, show me your strength. These doors are protected by a powerful force. These sigils are the only way to unseal the doors. Do your best to reach me.
Perhaps it would be wise to head for that sigil first.
I'm at 100%.
This Covert Thief with over 100 Avoid is pretty intimidating. Along with the Freeze Monk, they do a good job of scaring off any teams that wouldn't be able to handle the map. Better to learn you need more preparation now than an hour in.
You got it!
We'll first use him as a punching bag for Micaiah XP, but after that we do have a plan.
Go ahead. Here I go.
A Forged L-Surge never misses and does big damage.
Yes.
Mystical units ignore terrain effects, so they can also reliably deal damage. Burning an Engage attack like Lodestar Rush or Warp Ragnarok here also works. You have ample time to recharge it. You could easily get a perfect Mencross here by cantering down, but I want Jean to move his full distance every turn to reach the energy tile on time. This Axe Fighter is a little out of the way, so it's good to make sure you have a first turn kill on him in preps.
What a lovely scene.
The Monk always attacks the unit closest to him, the topmost in our army. If that unit happens to be immune to freezes, he's not a problem. You could just run out of his range, but I'll fight him.
Emblem Engage!
Sean gets the first level up of many. There's a 50-50 on where this lance fighter goes to attack Alir, but I figured things out so I get the same eventual outcome either way.
It's just like my fairy tales.
This guy has a shielding art, which is quite annoying. Sailing can help Chloe deal with him.
All in the name of peace.
Then we take out the lance fighter, ensuring that everyone who needs a boost gets to canter off him.
This ice is rather slippery. We
want to bait both axe fighters so they come towards us, which means we need a unit in the range of the back one. Anna's going to be our bait.
Winning!
She'd die if she kept L-Surge equipped, because then she'd one around the first axe fighter and take a second hit from the other one. I finally found a good use of the Restore staff. Has the same XP as Mend, it doesn't bring units to full HP so it doesn't deny us future healing XP, and getting poisoned right at the start of a long map is legitimately bothersome. Jean's leveled up twice in 2 turns. This turn's another one, where the main goals are getting Canter activated on the units who need it, and getting units damaged from Kaya XP. We do get one fun move. Is this override more style than substance? Yes. It does actually give us a bit of extra movement though, which works out nicely. There's a couple ways to handle the first dragon. A Fallen Star user can one-shot them from outside their range, or with some clever obstruct use you can wall them off for a turn. But the simplest approach works best here, baiting with a Sigurd user. My Chloe had high HP even before 2 Seraph Robes, so certainly now any attack that deals flat HP is easy for her to shrug off. One useful thing to know about enemy AI is that they prefer activating chain attacks if possible. Once the Lance Fighter attacks Chloe, the Dragon will want to attack her as well, so we can safely put units behind her. It's a relatively tough benchmark. We're giving her divinely inspiring support, but you may need HP or defense tonics.
What?
Stay aware of dragon ranges. We don't want anyone getting frozen.
All right.
We're in relatively tight quarters, but with Cantor we can still have everyone contribute.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
You got it! Phew.
Is it go time?
Archer Jean with Micaiah can one round with a silver bow. If he can do it, Ulcris and Etier won't have any problems. I gave him a dex tonic, which you may also want. Engraving the weapon also helps.
Dropped your guard. Was that too much?
Alright, Yunaka, take that kill. Generally, the AI wants to deal as much damage as possible when it can't break, chain attack, or kill a unit. That works in our favor here. Lapis wouldn't be able to do as much damage in return, even if she'd take it like a champ. Jean gets to the energy tile. You have a lot more flexibility if your archer isn't also spending most of their turn's time to train from level 1. These dragons are part of different enemy groups. The western one's going to aggro with the northern squad next turn. If they aggro without anyone to attack, they'll start running north out of their corridor, which we don't want. If we take care of the western dragon this turn, and stay out of the eastern dragon's range, they'll be a sitting duck next turn, because they aren't in the same enemy group and will just stay in place. The dragons flanking us only have 2 range. You could even enemy face them with a bow if you have a good archer and don't mind getting frozen for a turn.
Whoa! Engage!
I almost flub here. You want to activate Aspiring Hero for that perfect hit rate. Amber is a great fit for this role, another reason to wait until after Chapter 8.
Must stay focused.
Fallen Stars, understood by the enemies, is essentially zero avoid. They won't normally attack the user. That means Amber's totally safe here, even if 2 units could attack him.
Emblem Engage!
Recover has quite high base XP. Our Saline continues to pad her XP lead. Getting a level 5 promoted skill this early is quite the feat.
Whatever you ask.
With all that healing, Chloe's ready for the next dragon. Because there's no one to chain attack, we have to be more careful about keeping units out of the dragon's range.
Simple enough. I won't give up! All in a day's work.
That goddess icon's already paying for itself, baby. I've spent a lot of time optimizing all the small maneuvers in this section. My first clears of this map were several turns longer, and most of those turns were in this part. You don't need that level of optimization to beat the map cleanly. Instead, I'd focus on the broad tactical motifs. Without any juggernauts who can one-round foes on enemy phase, bait and switch becomes the next best option. We have a few units bulky enough to survive hits from enemies, even if they can't one-round in return. Then we have frail units who can't take hits, but can one-shot the right foes. If you keep the player phasers right behind the enemy phasers, you can leapfrog your way through maps without needing any one unit to be good at everything. I think the dragons here demonstrate this well. You don't need one unit with high HP and bows, you need one unit for bait and one unit for finishing the job. Because Amber's busy dealing with an axe fighter we have a hard time reaching otherwise, and Jean already took out another dragon, we need a different approach for the remaining dragon. Engage attacks are just the thing. Because they don't allow counters, they can let us deal damage without getting frozen.
Lend me your strength. My prayers are with you. Do not afford to lose. Yunaka here.
Lapis engages Roy for +1 movement and extra stats. Normally she'd need that movement to reach this square, but she didn't have a mage to deal with last turn thanks to Yunaka.
I have faith in the goodness of humankind.
Chloe takes out the bow user. This is one way she really synergizes with Sigurd's movement.
You were beautiful while you lasted.
Now Sailing gets to show off. You can definitely make the strategy work without one-rounding these enemies, but Sailing has the combination of magic, speed, swords, and staves that all come together to make this possible. She attacks the monk first to avoid him chain guarding and set up the kill in enemy phase.
Winning!
Diana's doing a lot more on enemy phase than you'd expect. Many later maps will use groups of foes with overlapping ranges, and Anna's not normally bulky enough to engage those without support. On a map like this one though, her tremendous firepower means she's a great candidate for taking on one foe at a time. We have ample healing support to keep her topped up between those engagements. Isn't this level up quote so endearing? I think you really owe it to Micaiah, buddy, but thanking your enemies is just classy. I've been somewhat unlucky so far with friendly rivalry. We'd love to build up bond rank quickly, and Amber's already had a few turns he could have used one of the gambits for extra bond rank but didn't get it. I think Flame Gambit would actually be fine here, but the Flame Tile can mess up future movement, and I didn't want to risk it without having already ensured it works. It's nice to have units like a Lear help out a little on this side before cantering back to the east. You only need one unit to stay here, but having help to clear out this group is usually necessary.
Emblem Engage!
Lapis shows off Blazing Lion. Although she'd be fine without it here, the flames can be quite useful in a 3-tile wide hallway like this one.
Phew. All right.
Thanks for the business!
I want to help you. Allow your soul the rest it deserves.
How nice of them to give us a rewarp staff right before it'd be quite useful. Our army split is becoming more apparent. Roy and Sigurd are staying on the left side, while the emblems most useful against bosses go to the right. The ice tiles help us delay this split. We don't need to commit units to one side immediately.
I live to fight again.
Let's go!
Feel the potential.
Let's be careful.
Still good.
The door's open. We should use the other sigil as well. Oh, more of the floor is turned to ice. Tread carefully, Divine One.
That miss is a shame. I'd use Dex tonics liberally on important units. If you haven't planned everything out in advance like I have, those small changes add up over a long map, and you don't want to play for an hour just to reset. Lapis is staying put to keep out of the dragon's range. She could otherwise use a more accurate melee weapon.
It's my time.
When I see a holo with 2 calves and a dragon, you best believe I'm going for an override.
One strike will decide it all. On guard!
I'll emphasize that this maneuver is totally unnecessary. As long as you keep these enemies chasing you, you don't need to fight them to collect all the loot and beat the map. Canter speeds up the silver card collection by 1 turn, but because I routed those enemies, sailing won't be needed on loot collection. It's worth thinking about that if you're relying on sailing to collect the loot before you can beat the boss. You might even use a 3rd rewarp to save that turn.
I have to fight! I'll manage.
This shielding art monk makes a great sparring partner. Alira's managed to recharge Marth without an energy tile. We're leaving one of those tiles unused. You can certainly delay this clear by a turn to refuel an important emblem, which makes the preceding section more lenient.
It's not getting any better. Here I go.
Here comes Amber.
We're going to keep seeing this dynamic of Amber against mages. On player phase, being able to one-shot them means getting one routed in return isn't a problem.
Made quick work of that.
You could have your Sigurd user run all the way around the map to pick up the silver card. Trust me, the rewarp use is more than worth it. You can also warp Ragnarok outside the walls if you really want to, but if you aren't using rewarp here, where are you planning to use it? Time to activate Tiki's room. We have plenty of time, and we could certainly kite Tiki out of her chamber to ambush her outside if needed.
The other door has opened up. I think we can finally head toward the emblem.
You are incredible. I will have to give this my all.
Amber's going to instead show what Fallen Star and Cantor can do here.
It was a good try.
Sounds perfect.
Obstruct's also a key part of this, otherwise Amber would get surrounded and we'd be stuck. You don't need the unit keeping the entrance open and the unit killing the dragon to be the same. A different unit could have run in front of Amber. Amber gets this exactly with Divinely Inspiring. A strength tonic also works.
It was a good try.
Anna isn't needed against Tiki, so she tries for a low percent L-Surge crit. Got it in practice. Oh well. Inaka uses Divinely Inspiring for plus 12 damage.
Whatever it takes.
Emblem Engage!
John gets one last level. Remember, he was at 150 SP in level 1.
Means Savage.
I've got this.
Alir does the honors.
I was wondering, do you enjoy being a divine dragon?
I didn't always, but now, yes, I think I do. It taught me what I'm truly capable of.
I see. I'm very curious to learn all about you. Will you tell me more about yourself?
Of course. I will tell you all that I can.
Well, Tiki, it sure has been a while. I'm glad to see you. How have you been?
Mama! I'm so glad to see you. I've been doing so well.
If we win this battle, I hope we can fight side by side again. I'd feel better having you as my ally.
Of course. I would love to travel with you once more. And then we can chat forever and ever.
Fate has brought us here.
Strong.
A good day for Alpaca Nation. 12 turns gives you ample margin to slow down when following along. On a casual run, I normally spend 14 or 15 turns here.
Wow, that was incredible. I tried my very best, but you still won. You showed me your true essence as well. Even in battle, you were warm and kind. I would be ever so glad to help you. I quite look forward to working together.
Thank you, Tiki. It's very reassuring to have you on our side.
I'm flattered to hear you say so. Oh, and it's not just me. My bracelet friends are here as well. I'm sure they would be happy to help.
You mean there are even more bracelet emblems here in Elios?
Yes, we just arrived recently. I'll tell you where they are, so you can go and meet them. I do believe they are all sleeping. I only hope they're having good dreams. I used to have terrible nightmares about turning into a beast and hurting people.
That must have been awful. I'm so sorry.
It was. But it's better now. I don't have those scary dreams anymore. And now that I'm with you, I think my dreams will only be happy ones. That's why I'm so grateful not to be alone. I want to become friends with all your friends.
That won't be a problem. You're bound to get along well with everyone.
I cannot wait to meet them. Let's be on our way. Mama, I'm so delighted to see you again.
It's a relief to see you as well. Now I can fulfill the promise I made to protect you.
I'm glad you remember. I never forgot. Now that we're reunited, I know I have nothing to fear. This will be so much fun.
With you by my side, Tiki, I'm sure I can take on any battle. Together, we will protect Elios.
I promise to give it my all. I can't wait to travel with you again. There is so much for us to talk about, and so many adventures to be had.
Indeed. We have a lot to catch up on, and just as much to look forward to.
Oh, Mama. I missed you so much.
This map has the 5th dog in Engage, significantly earlier than you get him otherwise. While I adopt that good boy and pick up other stuff around the map, let's talk about Tiki. Tiki's probably the emblem players disagree on the most. There'll be a few hot takes coming up. Her Engage skill, Draconic Form, gives +5 to basic stats and +10 to HP. That's incredible, blowing every other emblem's buffs out of the water. It's the sort of boost that can turn zeros into heroes. Her primary tank skill, Star Sphere, gives you an incentive to do that instead of boosting your best unit, like Marth has in Mercurius. It gives 15% extra growth while leveling. While Tiki's beside them, even middling units have the game's best growths. You can easily imagine Tiki snowballing. Draconic Form lets you train even a total scrub, Star Sphere gives them extra permanent stats, you get even more kills, and you're off to the races. Light Sphere means you aren't reliant on healers, and Light Sphere exists. Alas, it's not quite that simple. There's a catch to Draconic Form. Unlike other emblems, which gives you a set of Engage weapons on top of your normal kit, while a dragon, you're only allowed to use 3 of her weapons. Eternal Claws comparable to a Killer Lance +3. Tail Smash is a smash weapon similar to a Steel Great Lance. Finally, each battle style has a single breath attack, which have enemy defense and resistance and have an area effect, but have the downsides of smash weapons. They never double and attack last. All 3 are great weapons in the early game, but you can't forge them the way you can an actual Steel Great Lance. You also lack any equivalent to a Javelin, even with all the stats in the world. For an enemy at 2 range, you're doing 0 damage. Melee range simply won't cut it in Engage's late game. You can't be a great enemy phase unit if many enemies take 0 damage. I think it's also easy to forget just how powerful the late game synergies locked behind paralogues maps are. Even in raw stats, Tiki gets serious competition. A Roy user wielding the Binding Blade with 1-2 range gets level +5, buffs to HP strength and resistance, defense resistance +5 from the weapon, and 4 extra might over Eternal Claw. Luckily for her, Tiki is not just about combat like Roy. Let's talk about her support skills. Her Engage attack, Divine Blessing, gives an ally a Revival Stone. Enemy bosses aren't the only ones cheating death any longer. I've talked up Divinely Inspiring a lot for being a buff you can stack on top of a unit's existing emblems and skills. It shouldn't shock you then that Divine Blessing is amazing. It makes your best unit better without any opportunity cost. You can just add it on top of anything. Unlike Override or Warp Ragnarok, which have game-breaking potential that's carefully designed around, Tiki gets some DLC privilege with her Engage attack. It can solve problems, you get the sense we're not built with it in mind. Like with many of the best emblem skills, I won't maximize it in the interest of avoiding monotony, but if you're playing in a less egalitarian style and don't mind a little cheese, giving a Revival Stone to your super unit can be incredible. Geosphere is Tiki's best skill. I'm not sure that's a popular opinion, but hear me out. Geosphere gives Tiki and her neighbors +3, then +5 defense and resistance at the start of a turn. Because it's unselfish, it stacks with other emblems and boosts. Sharing really is caring, because it won't activate without an ally receiving the buff. Binding Blade Roy is much better than Tiki, but Geosphere plus Binding Blade Roy is better than Binding Blade Roy. Unlike other stats, Bulk's a win condition if you get enough of it. Geosphere lets a unit with 1-2 range pull off the long enemy phases Tiki herself can only do when enemies lack ranged weapons. In the early game, Tiki's a lot like Marth or Micaiah, a training boost you often give to projects. Unlike boosted XP gains, Star Sphere stats are permanent. You can then transfer the Star Sphere boosts to a better mainline combat emblem and free up Tiki for other roles. She can do support with Divine Blessing and Geosphere, or do combat in a small niche. Some units like Diamant can still do great combat with Tiki later in the game, but that's normally a side project while other units actually beat the map. Tiki's lots of fun, but I think there's 2 big misconceptions that can get in the way. First is the idea that Tiki's unfair pay to win. In my book, she's one of the weaker emblems, and certainly much weaker than the likes of Micaiah or Roy. If you're using Tiki instead of spamming Bonded Shield with a mage, you're making the game harder on yourself and not easier. Second, people sometimes think that optimal play entails maximizing Star Sphere, inheriting it on every unit, or tying themselves in knots to route XP. Some people might cringe at me giving John 6 levels in Tiki's paralogue. That could have been 0.9 points in every stat. Star Sphere is good, but it's not game-breaking. A couple points across the board won't do as much as several points in the key stats, and many of the best strategies in Engage succeed precisely because they don't rely on raw numbers. I'd think of Starsphere as a fun way to play favorites with a unit or two who Tiki works well with, not as a reason to painfully feed a level 1 Jean 6 levels of combat experience. If you enjoy those kinds of training arcs, though, have at it. You'd be training Jean far more honestly than I did using Micaiah. Ultimately, I'd advise you to just play freely with Tiki. If you enjoy training units through combat instead of staff spam, Tiki's your gal. If you enjoy building super units, early Starsphere combined with Divine Blessing and Geosphere support after switching to a different emblem lets anyone become a superstar. If you want to see funny proc skills activate, Tiki's super fun with Diamant or Chimera as a low-risk way to roll the dice. Like most other DLC emblems, Tiki isn't some integral part of the meta. You don't need her for anything. That means she's a free agent for whatever goals you have besides simply beating the game. And if you approach her with that mindset, you'll be in for a treat. I said now's a good time to do more than one DLC paralogue, and I'll follow my own advice. Next time, we'll hear another great soundtrack by playing Veronica's paralogue. Stay tuned if you like the sound of that. Bye, papaya!